everyone. I am JJ Dixon, and I want to thank you for joining us again. Today is a very, very, very exciting day. We have been going through this series for Black History Month, and today we have a very, very special guest. It is truly an honor to be sitting with our current sheriff here in Jacksonville, Florida, Sheriff T.K. Waters. I am not going to continue to talk because I'm not going to take up too much of his time. I'm going to let him tell you who he is.
All right, so I am the son of a military man, Jacksonville native. My father was born in St. Nicholas, off of Emerson, in the Emerson area. That's my dad's stomping ground. My mother is from the west side of Jacksonville, in Sweetwater. I have a huge family in Jacksonville. Myself, I was born in Fort Bliss, Texas. My dad was a career military man, 32 years, and kind of set me up into the direction that I'm going now.
So your dad was in the military. Was that in like the 60s or the 70s or?
Yeah, he joined the Army in got drafted in 1961.
Oh, he was drafted.
1961, I believe, and then he re-upped after that. So
wow.
Yeah, he spent a long time.
So he's seen a lot. He's seen a lot. So all right. So you come from some pretty humble beginnings. Your mom's from the West Side. I caught that because I'm a West Sider as well. So that I kind of perked up when I heard that. So that's good to know. And I had no idea that your dad was from the St. Nicholas area, which was also a very nice area in Jacksonville.
That's right.
So it's good to know that you're a homeboy. I know a lot of people that work here probably did not know that.
Right.
That being said, you probably landed in Jacksonville. Did you go to high school here?
No, so I was in and out. I went to junior high school here for a little while. I went to Hyde Grove Elementary for a little while. Ended up the military life, moved me around quite a bit. So I found myself living in different places. Most of my time was spent in Fort Bliss, Texas, because my dad was MOS. His service duty, his duty in the service was air defense artillery, and that's where he was stationed. So I spent a lot of time there, which is why I was born there. Okay,
so you somehow found your way back to Jacksonville, but I have to ask you, when you were a kid, did you think you wanted to be the police?
Yeah, so I can tell you that my dad was a huge influence for me.
Really?
And yeah, huge influence. And watching him throughout the years in the military, he just really, he was a driver. He was, he attained the highest rank that you can attain as an enlisted man. He was a brigade level command sergeant major. And not only did I have a lot of respect for him, but I loved to see the way he handled himself and the way he worked. And of course, my mother, amazing. Mama's boy.
Nothing wrong with that.
An amazing mother.
Nothing wrong with that.
An amazing mother. She was tall. My mother was about 6'3" before she died.
That's where you get the height from.
That's where it comes from. Both of my parents, actually. But yeah, it was a great upbringing. And my dad set the example. My mother tighten the rope when she needs
it. We used to do that. They used to do that back in the day.
That's it.
I was having a conversation with Lonnie Miller Jr. recently, and we were talking about his dad. And his comment to me was, you know how kids are always looking for a hero, and he said, I never had to look for a hero because my dad was my hero.
That's right.
It kind of sounds like
100%. I mean, just watching him, he let me go to work with him sometimes in the summer, and I just sit there and watch the respect that he was shown, the respect that he would give to his superior officers. But the number of years that he spent in the military and did what he did was really amazing for me to see. You know, I always laugh a lot, and that was going to be my path, and I'll tell you why it ended up changing a little bit. I always laugh because on Saturdays, he'd come into my room, he'd wake me up at about 6.
Oh, God.
And I'd say, Dad, Dad is
6 p.m.?
No, 6 a.m. Well, Dad is 6. He said, no, bro, you slept long enough. You got stuff.
Whoa.
So that was my upbringing. My name was Boy, and still is, to this day. So
Dad didn't play. He was training you early. The early bird gets the worm. Get on up, get out of bed.
That's right, he did.
And you know, it bugs me when I was on patrol, and I would go, even when I worked in the schools, and I would go to people's houses, or people would bring their kids, their boys especially, but kids to school, and it's 10, 11, 12 o'clock, they just crawling out of bed. Like half the day is already over with. They missed, if you're going to put in for a job, 10 people have already gotten there before you got out of bed.
Yeah, that irritates. It used to irritate me so much. I mean, like, even I have to adjust now because of the hairdos, the styles. When I was young, I wasn't allowed to go there.
It's just
crazy.
a fad.
It's a fad.
Yeah,
I know. I get it. So I get it.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. Everything was high and tight and clothes iron. You know, it was just, that's how it was.
That military. I think sounded like he was kind of preparing you for military life.
Yeah, he probably was. He never tried to make me go that direction.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he probably was.
But preparing you for life, nevertheless, because those are things that you can't go wrong.
Nope.
When you are disciplined in every area. So that's amazing. So I wish we could talk all day.
Sure.
We could stay on that for 2 hours, but I know that we don't have much time. So I want to kind of get into your life as a police officer. So you come back to Jacksonville, and how did you end up in the police academy?
Well, I decided. I had already visited recruiters. I had already made my plan to join the military.
Yeah.
But I came back in 1990 for my sister's wedding. And this is home base. This is where everything happened. I always planned on wanting to live here eventually, come back home, because this is where everyone was. And in 1990, my first cousin was murdered in the Ramona Apartments.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, he was like a brother to me. He was 9 months my junior. So he was walking through the apartment complex, and he and his brother, and he got robbed at gunpoint. And then they made him lay down, and I think for no reason, after they robbed him, they shot him in the back of his head and killed him. And that changed my direction in life. And I said, maybe a little bit idealistic, maybe whatever it was, I wanted to do what I could to stop that from happening to somebody else. Because I was, it was very impactful for me. It was the first time that I experienced something like that.
Yeah. I can relate.
Yeah.
I had a cousin that it was almost the identical situation, except he was about 19 or 20, and they took him in the woods, and they took everything, tennis shoes, everything, and young man, and just shot him and killed him.
Yeah.
And I guess that during that time, it's about the same time, during that time, that was the trend, I guess.
Yeah.
So I can relate, and it does have an impact on, if you're at a crossroad in your life where you're making decisions about what you want to do, I can relate that it does weigh heavily on your decision to go that way. So I'm glad you did, though, and I know that you're glad you did, and the city is better because you did. So I've talked to some of your academy buddies. Y'all had a blast. We're not even going to talk about academy days. Y'all had a good time.
Oh, yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun.
Good time. So you get out of the academy, and where was your first? Obviously, you went to patrol.
No, I started in corrections first.
Oh, that's right. You sure were.
In 1991, I went to corrections.
That's right.
I just wanted to get my foot in the door.
Yeah, right.
When I applied for corrections and police. There was a hiring freeze at the time. So I said, whatever. I'm going to take these exams. I'm getting in. So they offered me the corrections job. I remember back then we started working before you went to the academy.
Provisional.
With certain jobs. Just provisional. And I went, started working in jail, spent a year in corrections, and then was fortunate enough to be selected for a crossover class. We still did those back then. And I went through that crossover class and began my work in police work and started in patrol. Got a chance to do some really, really cool stuff. I loved patrol. It was a lot of fun. I don't think people really realize
it was fun.
It was fun.
Especially back then when you had your beats and you were like the sheriff of your beat.
And it was fun. And you didn't want anyone coming up your beat.
Nope, you sure
I'm handling my beat.
Everybody knew you, and they knew what you would tolerate and you wouldn't tolerate. And it was like you knew everybody. I knew who my runners were. I knew who my drug people were. I knew who my mental health people were.
That's it.
And they respected you. That was a good time.
It was. And it was
now, what area did you ride?
4 South.
4 South. Okay.
4 South. And I was so confused when I first came. I'm like, all right, this is 4 South, but we're on frequency for zone 3.
Right.
I'm like, all this stuff was going on, but it was really a good experience. A lot of fun. And I was known. People knew my car number. They know your car number. And they knew when you were working. They knew when you weren't working.
Because you didn't have names on your cars back then. They knew your number.
That's it. Just your number. 1619.
Here comes 1619, y'all.
As a matter of fact, there's a picture of the car.
Wow.
Well,
we're going to have to share that picture with everybody else so they get to see that. And that's that old car, too.
That's an old car. It's just like that.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you started out in patrol and probably would have stayed there, but somehow you ended up in the detective division.
Yeah. So I started. This took a while. I started in patrol. I went to the cops unit. Did some time in the cops unit. Left there. Went to narcotics. got my fill of narcotics, spent a couple years.
Now tell us briefly what the COPS unit was, so people can understand.
Community-oriented policing strategies, and it was a different way of policing at the time. It was not just riding a beat, but we had an office inside of Palm Terrace. We connected really deeply with the young people there.
Low-income community.
Yeah, and mostly young people, the kids. I remember while I was in that unit, I remember riding in on Christmas Day on a fire truck wearing a Santa
nice.
outfit. It was so much fun. I had one of the kids say, "Hey, Mr. Officer, Santa is black." I said, "Well, you're right, but he is today." So we had so much fun. It was a good time, but it was a good time to connect with young people and the kids.
That's funny.
So I spent time there. Went to narcotics, spent a couple years there, then went back to patrol. Did some time in traffic, which I really enjoyed. It's a really good job. There's so many good things to do in the agency. I left traffic, got promoted to sergeant, went back to patrol, task force, then traffic as a sergeant, and then I left traffic as a sergeant, went to auto crimes for about 4 months.
Let me stop you again. I hate to keep interrupting you, but I have all these thoughts. I'm telling you, quick question, because this came up with someone else. When you were promoted to sergeant, you said you went back to traffic.
Yes.
Were you supervising any of the people who had been your peers before?
Well, the way traffic, you'd find yourself doing that because the way traffic works, we'd all get together for large operations, for football games, and all those things. And it was a pretty easy transition.
Okay.
There were never any issues with people. People respected and understood.
Right.
Now, you're a sergeant now, but you can wear the title. And have the rank. But you're still a human being. You still treat people the way that they deserve to be treated. And when you try to change up who you are, doesn't come across very well.
Yeah, that was the conversation. I believe it was either Marilyn Frison or Henderson Trimble from the jail that we were having that conversation, and we were saying that if Trimble was saying that it was an easy transition because if you really don't change who you are,
that's right.
Like you're not showing favoritism, you're not just mistreating people because you have the authority, you're just doing your job. I think people will understand that and they'll make the transition with you. And then as you continue to move up, it gets easier.
Yep,
I would hope it gets easier and easier. So, and even in the position that you are now, I'm sure some of your peers are still with the agency and it is what it is.
It's just part of it. No issues. But you don't change. You have to change in certain ways because your responsibilities change. Right. But you don't treat people big me, little you. Because it's not about that. I'm here because, and I'm gonna tell you, JJ, and I believe this with all of my heart. I'm here because the good Lord allows me to be here.
Amen.
And I have a responsibility to make sure that I treat people as such. Now, when it's time to lower the boom,
you have to do what you have to do.
Because if you dirty this up, it hurts everyone working here in this entire community. So we're going to do that, but you still stand fast in who you are as an individual, and I think that works.
And on that note, so dealing with the Brotherhood, as I've done for years and years, we have a lot of communication feedback from the community. So we hear a lot of stuff, and stuff comes to us, and whatever. But on that note, I wanted to kind of segue real quick into tarnishing the badge, because I know recently, since you've been in office, you've had to address some of that. I'm not going to say quite a bit, but you've had to address it because it's happened. And it's happened under every sheriff.
Sure.
And I've read and I've been told and I've met with people in the community who say that they can appreciate that because it's not like they take care of their own or they're covering something up. Yeah, we take care of our own when they're right, and when we can. If there's something that we can do to help someone, but then if not, I think the community expects for you to take care of that. Like you can't have someone out here with a badge and a gun that's violating the law and you don't do anything as a sheriff. So I just wanted to take a minute to throw that in there because I've been made aware or told by the citizens that they appreciate a sheriff that does that. So that's a good thing.
Well, ultimately, JJ, real quick, they hired me and they put me here. So I have a responsibility to them, to the agency as well, but to them to make sure that we address an issue when an issue arises. And I will stand up all day, every day, and take every bullet that comes my way if they're right. And that's a promise that I make to them because I think it's important for people to know that we stand behind them. But at the same time, when we mess it up, we have to own it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell the community about it when it happens, no matter how splashy and terrible it looks and sounds. I have to do it because that is our responsibility, to be upfront and forward with our community.
Yeah, I think people, again, I do think that people appreciate that. And I think people also understand that when it gets to that level, it's kind of beyond salvation at that point. Like, you have to do what you have to do. So I think it's understood. So you ended up in homicide. I want to talk about homicide for a minute. How long were you in homicide? Because you were there for a long time.
10 years and 5 months. 10 years and 5 months.
I want people to understand that, and you said there's so much that you can do in the sheriff's office, and there are so many different units that you can work in, from the very easiest to the very hardest, or to the ones that just mentally drain you. And I want people to understand that when you work in units like the sex crimes unit, the homicide unit, the violent crime unit, all of those kind of units is very taxing on the mind and the heart. And so to do it for 3 or 4 years is tough. But to stay there for 10 years, you know, can you imagine the things that the eyes have seen, the ears have heard, that you really can't share with anyone else?
Yeah, so you try, you try to, it's a weird thing. And I know you spent time in our sex crimes division. It's a weird thing because you're talking about someone's loved one. Right. You're talking about, I've been in a situation myself where when you lose something or someone like that, the world, you feel like the world is supposed to stop. And the world keeps going.
That's right.
It keeps moving.
Sure does.
And no one seems to even really think about you and what you're dealing with. So I take that, and that is my passion, that's my drive every single day, because recognizing that people are struggling, like the mother of the 7-year-old just recently, I went to see her yesterday. And I wanted to give her time to spend with her family before I, run up there and start talking to her. But I just wanted to go see her and let her know, let her understand that her sheriff, her sheriff's office is there for her. And we're working very hard to try to bring that to a swift resolution. And I want to be a voice for the victims and be an advocate for the families. Because the years that I spent working in that unit, and the young men, because that's what it is in a lot of cases, the young men that you see that we lose, it's horrific. It should never happen. So now my drive is to try to do what we can to stop that from happening.
And I'm sure that's appreciated.
Sounds good.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit quickly about this phenomenon of our homicide rate in Jacksonville being reduced drastically. Again, hear from the citizens about a lot of things, and we've gotten calls from people saying, we didn't really care that much about TK Waters when he first got in office, but I got to give it to him. I got to give it to him. This is what people say, That crime reduction is amazing. And I'm going to post the stats on the screen so people can see it, but tell us a little bit about, and I even wrote it down, in 2023, the study showed Jacksonville as being in the top 10 U.S. cities for homicides. In 2022, 34 murders, we had 122 in 23, and we only have 59 in 2024. So talk about that. That's since you've been in office.
Yeah, so I am extremely happy, but what I always say is this: one life is too many.
Yes,
I don't say that.
absolutely.
I don't say that, and people are more than statistics and numbers.
That's right.
But along that same, when we're talking about this subject, it's an improvement, right? It's a pretty vast improvement. We want to continue to see that improvement. So there's a bunch of things that we've done. Some I'm going to share, some I'm not going to share because
we understand.
But utilizing technology, utilizing our NIBIN technology to get. NIBIN is basically a fingerprint system for shell casings. Using that, using ShotSpotter that you mentioned earlier that Sheriff Williams brought in, using license plate readers, using all these different tools on top of a very robust gang unit. Because I hear a lot, we have gangs and we don't want to be, we don't want to struggle with the gang issue. So we build out a gang unit, and sometimes people may not necessarily love it. But if there's an issue that we are dealing with, and I hear from the public about these issues, then I have to do something to address those issues, because that's what they expect from me. we have our crime gun intelligence center where we utilize a bunch of different information. We pick, and then we focus on the individuals that we know are committing these crimes.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we've put some pretty dangerous shooters away.
We are well aware. It's been all over it's been all over the national news.
Yeah.
I'm on almost all social media platforms, and I see people all over the world commenting about, they're naming certain gang members who are in Jacksonville or from Jacksonville that have gone now because of all that you all have done to pretty much run them out of town. But yeah, we know that there has been a real serious issue with gangs, and I'm a member of the community as well. I want them gone. Yeah, I want them gone.
And so do I, because I don't want, these, and you know this as well as I do from working there for all those years, these guys don't shoot one time. When they don't get caught, they don't stop after once. They don't stop after twice. They go over and over and over again. And really, quite frankly, you've heard this from Sheriff Williams. I'm sure you've heard this from Sheriff Glover.
All of them.
That it's a small group of people that are responsible for a lot of crimes in our community.
That's right.
And if we can get rid of that and then get some of those young people to change and decide they want to do something else, because they're going to get killed or they're going to find themselves in prison.
Yep.
So if we can work to get that changed, then I'm all in.
Yeah, and every year, almost for as long as I can remember, there's been a senseless murder of a child connected to some gang rivalry, and it infuriates me and a lot of other people in the community, and we do agree that has to stop.
It's funny that you say that, because we were just talking about, when that happened, the sheriff and I were talking about, every year we have this ridiculous thing, and what's horrible about this one, they're all horrible.
Yeah, right.
But it's in the daytime, it's in the daylight. That poor baby was walking outside. They didn't drive by and do it. They got out of their cars.
Oh, man.
They saw him.
Wow.
I get chill bumps just thinking.
Wow.
Because now some mother, that poor baby, loses his life for some nonsense. And quite frankly, it angers me that someone would do something like that. So I'll take that anger and frustration, we'll turn it into effort. And we'll continue to push and drive and motivate to try to stop that.
Well, I want to pause for a moment, because I think it's appropriate, and I don't know the family, I haven't spoken with them, but I don't think they would take issue with us taking a moment for that young baby, just to honor and recognize his memory right now, but also to say that if there's anyone who sees this that has any information on that senseless murder, because I know there's somebody out there that knows, they need to contact the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, 904-630-0500, or dial 911. And I always like to say, if you're not comfortable calling the police, email us, jaxbop@gmail.com, and we will forward that information for you. But it's important that we as a community come together and do what we can do. Even if you have information that you do not think is important, it's important that we share that. We have to support that.
Any little thing that you see that you may have seen is very important.
And not only that, child, any other unsolved murder, please share that information. So I want to touch on one more topic real quick. The other sheriffs. So I work for, I think, 4 different sheriffs, and I know that they all had their own thing that they enjoyed doing. McMillan's thing, to the best of my recollection, was Young People Youth PAL. He poured into PAL, helped get that building, and all kinds of other things. Glover's thing was the community engagement, community involvement piece. He wanted the community to feel like they were part of the sheriff's office, walk in the neighborhoods and everything. Rutherford's thing was also community, but it was mental health as well. He was concerned about people who needed mental health services becoming inmates in the jail. And then Sheriff Mike Williams, I call him the progressive sheriff, the innovative sheriff, because he brought body-worn cameras, the SUVs, shot spotter, all of that kind of stuff. So I wanted to ask you, what things that they brought do you still utilize now, and what is your thing, or what is your legacy going to be?
So I use all of it. I use I talk to Sheriff Glover all the time, and I still do his walks.
Oh, wow.
They're super valuable.
Right.
I like it. So it's a lot of fun for me, because I get a chance to go out and talk to people where they live and hear from them face to face.
Right.
There's nothing more valuable than that. But what's huge for me is transparency. I hope you've noticed, and I hope people around the city have noticed, that my goal is to make you a part with information, make you as much a part of the sheriff's office as we can. This is their agency.
Right.
We are their employees. And this is important for everyone around here to know that. And everyone here knows how I feel about that. When I came on, this is no knock on my predecessors. When I came on, we had 2 PIOs. Well, we've taken that, and living in the age that we live in, I hired an Emmy award-winning reporter, television reporter, Vic Michelucci.
Saved the day today, didn't he?
That's it. He did save the day today. But I know the value of that. There are certain things that I know how to do, and that we know how to do as police. But once we reach that limit, we need to give that over to professionals and not be too proud to do it.
Agreed.
So we brought Vic in. We brought a whole bunch of young people from colleges that know how to do videography, know how to do social media, all this stuff, so we can build that up and let them run that for us. Now we are, our profile has really gone up, and it's not because I'm looking for clout for myself. Not at all. It's so that people can see what's actually going on within the agency, and we can share as much as we can, as quickly as we can, with as much information as possible, and that's my thing. Second, and these both are very important to me, is our violence reduction strategy.
Absolutely.
When Sheriff Williams was here, he gave me that job, and he allowed me to build that out. And now I met Garland Scott in 2016, 2017, and we've been doing this thing since then, and we feel like it's paying dividends.
Yeah, it is.
And we're going to continue to work and do that because it's important. It's important to try to, not only will I put you in jail and hope you stay there forever if you don't want to help. If you want to hurt people in our community, I want to help you stay in prison. It's just a fact. But if you want to meet us where we are and say, listen, we want to give you the assistance you need to translate maybe a gang life or a group violence life into something positive, then we're going to do the things that we need to do with partnerships all around our community to help you do that. And I believe in that. I spent so much time working in those crime scenes. Now I want to do something to prevent those crime scenes from happening.
So I want to give you, thank you so much for sharing with us. You gave us a little glimpse into your life, and I know we're moving kind of fast, and I know they're going to be upset because they want more, maybe later. But thank you for that. But I did want to give you an opportunity, if there was anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask, anything that you wanted to say to the citizens, anything that you wanted to say about your career, your anything, whatever. I want to give you the last few moments to do that.
So let me say this. There's long been this misconception about who TK Waters is. I'm just a regular man who has a definite love and care for this community and everyone in it. And I will tell you that I recognize that I wouldn't be where I am today first without the Lord Jesus Christ himself. Second, without the men that came before me to pave the way. And I talked to Sheriff Glover about this also. It wouldn't happen. And I know that. I understand that. But now in 2025 and 2024 and beyond, we are capable of accomplishing anything we want to accomplish as long as we prepare ourselves and we move forward, we drive forward. That's because of the things that people have done for us that have gone by already. So I don't want anyone to ever think that I'm somehow a guy who doesn't recognize that, because I do 100%. There's guys that I hear from, and I'm gonna say one of them. His nickname was Pimp, Willie Pimp. I hear from him all the time. I love him. I've known him for many years. I was a rookie playing basketball at Matthew Gilbert. We play basketball on Saturdays, and it's guys like him that always call me or they may text. I may not even be able to call back or answer, but he always texts me, and I want to acknowledge that and say, praying for you, bro. You're doing a good job, and that means the world to me. All that stuff matters, and
it does matter.
At the same time, I'm a person, so when you hear negative stuff, I ignore it sometimes, but I don't read social media. I don't watch much news, because it's better to keep your mind.
You're better off if you don't. I don't either. Every now and then I'm on the social media platforms to put stuff out, but I don't really spend a lot of time scrolling and reading and looking. And I probably should watch the news, but I really don't. I really don't.
It's difficult.
So understood, and it is important to have those individuals in your life who always had your back and always will, praying for you and keeping you 100%. Motivated and accountable. It's important. It's very important to have that. So
hey, I'll tell you this really quick. I believe that the Lord watches everything I do every day.
I do too.
And
I do too.
if I go out here and I abuse people, I abuse the position that he's allowed me to hold, I believe he will hold me accountable.
Absolutely.
So I do everything that I do with that in mind first. And then everything else, sometimes it may not make everyone happy, but I'm going to do what I think is the best thing to do every single time.
Yeah, we've talked to many. Tony Davis was another one that we've spoken to that talks about their faith playing an integral role in every accomplishment that they've ever had in their lives. And I think it's so important to recognize that faith really does make the difference.
Yep,
it makes a difference, because without it, you're just out here doing you.
Yeah.
And
no
we'll
question.
mess up if we start doing us too much and too fast. So that's awesome. But I wanted to thank you again. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing us to come in and just spend a few moments with you. And if there's anything that the Brotherhood can do, let us know.
I will.
We're all brothers, all of us,
Yep.
black, white, and different.
Yep.
Throw that out there for y'all, because we don't want y'all to think that it's just us. It's all of us. It's all of us, because we're a community, and it takes all of us working together to make a difference in the community. So, again, thank you.
Thank you.
And if there's anything we can do for you, let us know.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, AJ.